you had asked me a question earlier, Bob, and I kind of forgot to answer it. But on this podcast journey, when we decided, like when I was coming to you and I was like, man, I may want to do a podcast, and I started coming up with names. Right? I started thinking like, okay, what would be my podcast name?
I remember.
I actually talked to Angie Martinez about it at an event we were at, and was trying to get ideas of people. I'm like, yo, how do I do this podcast thing?
Right.
And so I came up with a name. It was called Pantheon. And I was like, I want to do in podcasts, and I want to be able to sit down and talk to people who are goats and greats at what they do, like the level that I'm working every day to be on.
So that's what the Pantheon is?
That's what a Pantheon is.
Okay.
Right? I feel like a Pantheon was the greats, was the gods, was the goats.
Got it.
And so I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And then I was like, well, that's not the only people I want to talk to. Like, I'm actually interested in people from all different walks of life that has accomplished all different kind of things.
Okay.
And so Pantheon didn't feel right anymore. But I say that to say, my first episode that I shot was at Hall of Fame. And we called it, I said, welcome to the Pantheon. I'm Dwyane. And I kept referencing Pantheon. And so I think when you guys hear that episode that I get to sit down with Dirk, Tony, and Powell at the Hall of Fame, that episode to me, that is a table full of greats, a table full of goats. Yes. At what they've accomplished. And so let's name that episode Pantheon because I got a chance to ask questions to my brothers in the game of basketball about our matchups versus each other, about our careers, about family, about all these things, man. I thought it was a great conversation and some first time conversations that happened on the podcast, especially with Dirk and I.
I remember that. I remember that.
You were there. You were sitting there when we were doing this episode. Yes. Was it anything in the episode as a fan of the game, as watching the Dallas series, as knowing any of that? Was it anything, or even the San Antonio series, or?
I think for me, one of the beautiful things about that episode was that I guess I knew what you were going to go do because everyone has talked about that incident. Again, I'm from Miami, so the incident with Dallas.
Which incident? Which one?
The cough.
The cough.
The cough incident.
The cough.
And I remember in the episode, you'll see in the episode where you kind of showed a picture to Dirk. And the thing is, he didn't know you was going to show it to him.
No, he did not know I was showing him the picture.
And that moment was such a real moment as a fan, as a Miami fan, as a basketball fan, because it's one of those things that you've heard and people talk kind of about, but no one's ever addressed it. And that's kind of cool that you was like, I'm going to address it with you. And the two of y'all having a conversation about it, and he told you how he felt, and you told him how you felt, and how and being men about it.
Yeah.
And that was such a cool moment. And the moment with you and Tony talking about when they thought they was going to win the championship.
When Ray hit the shot.
Yes. And just moments like that, and then your moment with Powell and Kobe, because you have a special relationship. You had a special relationship with Kobe.
Yeah.
And he obviously had a special relationship with Kobe, and to kind of share in your brotherhood.
Yeah, we both had two different, forms of relationship with Kobe.
Right.
But special in their own right.
Correct.
And obviously Powell is amazing, man. But yeah, definitely. And so we was able to share that bond.
Yes.
So for me, man, it was so cool. One to be at the Hall of Fame. Like I can be the most cool, calm, and collected human being, on the planet of this earth.
Right.
But I was at the Hall of Fame as a Hall of Famer, but I was there as a fan.
Facts.
So I got a chance to sit across some of the greatest to play the game of basketball, some of the greatest competitors.
Yep.
I know because I played them in the finals.
Yes.
Like I know how great these competitors are. Like these them dudes. And so I got to be that fan. I got to sit there and say, if I'm a fan, what would I want to know if Dirk and Dwyane is sitting at the table together in this moment? And at this moment, as we're wrapping up our careers, this is something we want to talk about. We want to talk about the call. Dirk, how did you feel? And so to be able to get into that and to be able to hear his real responses, man, I think that is a beautiful moment that was caught on these gold microphones. And so I just wanted to kind of, talk about that and just be super thankful that my first episode that I was able to film as a podcast was at the Hall of Fame in Springfield with some of the greats to ever play the game of basketball. And actually, the idea was pitched during when we were in Houston. We were in Houston when we got announced as Hall of Fame, Hall of Famers. Right. We had to go down there for the Final Four and get announced. And I pitched the idea in the tent. We were sitting at the table like, man, you know, if you guys open to it, it'd be great for us all to sit and have a conversation round table. And they were like, yeah, cool. And so we went through all the proper channels and we were able to sit down and have that conversation. And so I'm excited that that's my first podcast on my birthday on January 17th. You got a table full of Pantheons sitting down, having conversations about the things you want to hear about. And so I hope everybody enjoyed that episode.